Hey everybody, this is Ann Dean, Managing Director of Research and Relationship Management at the George Washington University, and we are talking today about testing and selecting vendors, an Apra OCC Byte. So this little byte of information is about testing and selecting vendors through the lens of wealth screening. And it is important for us in the prospect development space to be part of the vendor discussion when vendors are being tested, selected, because especially for those vendors that we are the subject matter expert on, we're the subject matter expert and we know our vendors, we know strengths and weaknesses. Testing and recommending or selecting vendors is an important piece of our job, both whether we are making budget decisions directly and making choices and getting things going without too much oversight, or if we're recommending and influencing vendors for usage by the fuller fundraising shop. And I will say that testing may seem like a waste of time. Don't worry. If you are able to make a recommendation in your shop, it is really worth the time to do the test. It will save you from having to wait maybe for a security audit with IT later, or it can help you get the appropriate number of bids that your organization requires to have a larger financial decision. So here at my organization, it's 3 bids for larger financial investment. At your organization, it may be a different number. So let's jump in. I am not a fan of screening just to screen, but here are a few scenarios that would help determine if you need a wealth screening at your organization. Think about where your organization is and what it wants to do with the results after you get those results. Sort of what's the purpose and what is the goal. So let's assume you've said yes to screening. At high level, this is a wealth screening implementation plan. And what we're going to be talking about today, testing and selecting vendors, is somewhere between items 1 through start of 4 on this implementation list. So time for testing. Select the proper vendors to do a test. I think in the wealth screening space there are maybe 4 to 6 or so well-known vendors. Give them each the same file of names. They will all have their own unique import templates, but give them the same names. Give them names that you know really well. This will help you when you get the results back, so that if you're sending them maybe your most loyal donors or people that are really well known in your community, you will know what those results should be when you get them back, so it doesn't take as much time to verify whether or not the vendor was on point. Give them, of course, names that you know will be a challenge. So your common names, your John Smith, your Robert Brown, your Jane Does, those kinds of folks. And then start to ask a lot of questions. So what is their typical match rate at a certain level? At some other organizations, it may be 6 figures, 7 figures, or 5 figures, depending on your organization. Talk to them about maybe what the system integration may look like. Talk to them about what other clients they have. And Apra is really helpful in that if they have other clients, you can then plug those names into the membership directory and talk to them directly. One of the things I love about prospect development is our ability and desire to share knowledge across different organizations with each other. So definitely use your colleagues across the industry there. And look at unused credits. If you have credits with an existing vendor from some contract and they need to get used up, this is an obvious win-win perhaps when you are looking at and comparing vendors. So let's ask some more questions. Think about how are you going to get these results back? What are they going to look like? How much of a presentation is the vendor going to do? And think through the difference. This difference between full and partial results is more common for predictive modeling or predictive modeling and wealth screening combination. So partial results would be sort of those top results only, maybe the top 10% or top 5%, the cream of the crop. The full results would be everything, all of the data. So maybe making sure that you understand what you're getting back here is very important. Of course, talk to them about what training they can do, and some vendors also offer research verification as part of their services. So then, of course, thinking through the costs, making sure that you understand really what you are getting and what your organization needs. So thinking through, is there something that is specific and unique to a specific vendor that is really a niche thing that you need from them, and can they maybe slice off other services so that you can come down in price a little bit while getting the absolute most important thing that you're looking for from them. So maybe taking off some of those bells and whistles that they like to add in. And making sure that also campaign counsel, if you are in a spot, if you're in an organization where campaign counsel has already used or put screening into their contract, make sure you're on the same page with that. You don't want to go through this whole thing if campaign counsel has already sort of made this decision for you. But on the flip side, if you know that campaign counsel is coming in, then perhaps you can do all of this work in order to influence what campaign counsel's contract will look like. So once you let vendors know what you're doing, they're going to be all over you. Do your best. They'll be in your email regularly and calling you regularly to find out what's going on and what's the decision and what, how's it going and what's the process, what's the good news. For comparison, I put together for our most recent wealth screening this sort of comparison sheet, because otherwise I had everything sitting in email or in my meeting in like call notes. So this really helps me make sure that I remember head to head sort of what the cost is, what the notes are about the deliverable, and then also information about the test, right? So how long is the test going to take? Are they already security screened by central IT or other things like that? If you have direct budget impact and selection power, this sheet may be all you need to remember later why you chose one vendor over another. We're humans and have sometimes short memories, and so making sure that you have this saved centrally somewhere will help future you make sure that you remember why you chose vendor A over vendor B. If you are instead using more influencing power over which vendor you are recommending, providing a document, so something that is tailored toward the right audience, whether that is your boss or a member of senior leadership, maybe your vice president, your vice chancellor, or something like that. Finance will certainly help make for a smoother decision and discussion prior to that decision. So this is a couple of different page document. It's got maybe 4 or 5 pages with a couple of different appendices in it with an executive summary on top to keep everything very tight for folks who don't have a lot of time to dive into the details, and then the appendices for those of us who like all of the details. So thanks for joining us for this bite. Keep an eye out for others as they come online. Thanks.